welcome to NWA Connie Corso's podcast, where we talk all things dogs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another show. We got another special guest. The Canine Diva is in the house. That is Miss Lori C. Williams. How you doing, young lady?
I am doing fine. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right, good.
Yep. I've been anticipating this one. I'm ready to learn a lot.
All right.
So on your profile, I see you're a dog trainer, behavior expert, AKC rally, OB farm dog, temperament test judge, evaluator, writer, speaker, presenter. You do a lot of stuff. One thing I want to ask you about is the CCUI fear-free certified. Explain that to me. But let me get just a background. You just kind of tell everybody who you are first.
Okay. So I have been in the dog training world for over 35 years. Been doing since I was a very young woman. I have to admit, I was an adult, so I can't play like I was a child when I started. I wasn't. I did have dogs as a child and also did train them a little bit, but I kind of think the people that use that, I've been training dogs since I was a child. But when you're a child, you don't really know what you're doing. You have your family dog and you're doing little tricks and stuff. But when I actually learned to actually train dogs, and when I talk about training dogs, I talk about back then, you train dogs for a purpose. Like it wasn't, a normal thing for people who had family dogs to train their dogs. That wasn't really the norm like it is now. Still isn't now as much as I'd like it to be. But anyway, it was new back in the 1980s. I'm not afraid to admit that. I did for a purpose, and what that purpose was for competition. I trained with a local kennel club, the Jacksonville, North Carolina Kennel Club, Jacksonville, North Carolina. My husband was in the Marine Corps at the time, so that's right at Camp Lejeune. So we were near Camp Lejeune. My husband was, in the Marine Corps, and I bought my first purebred dog. It was an Irish setter. And I looked in the newspaper and saw that the local kennel club. I didn't even know what a kennel club was at the time. The local kennel club was holding community dog training classes. So I went, and when I watched, and I actually stayed after to watch the kennel club members practicing for an upcoming obedience trial. As soon as I saw that, I said, I have got to do that with my dog. So the rest is history from there. To be honest, I joined the kennel club, started training with them. And then when we moved to Virginia 4 years later, I started offering classes in my backyard. That's where I started doing little, what I had taught through the kennel club. I was charging people $25 for 8 weeks classes. Back then you could get away with stuff like that. I'm sure now that's not, you can't do that in your backyard and get money. But anyway, I offered classes in my backyard, and it just blossomed from there. I started, training at different kennels, and I started training with the Marine Corps base. They had like community classes. So it just kept ballooning from there, and a little bit into it. That's when I really started learning the science of dog training, and which changed my methods a lot, which we'll get into. I'm sure all those little letters that you're talking about, it changed my methods. It changed my way of looking at things. In the beginning, I was very what you kind of see today is what they call balance training. I like to call it, I don't like that word balance training because it's really not balanced. I like the word traditional. It was traditional training where you did a lot of corrections. You didn't use a lot of positive reinforcement. You never used food, but you got the dogs to do things. And if they didn't do it, you would correct them. That's the way I learned. That is the way I learned. And it was probably about a good 15 years in till I started reading some books and learning about more positive reinforcement training. And that is when I kind of changed my methods. And I've been doing these methods that I do for about 20 years now. I have a 20-year old business. My facilities have been around 20 years. Thrived through the pandemic, no blip in it at all. More and more people coming. I have the local veterinarians, they all refer to me. I have we're fortunate to have a couple of veterinary behaviorists in the Richmond and Northern Virginia, DC area. They all refer They're clients to me dogs that are struggling with a lot of deep behavior issues. So I have a good following. I have an established business. Social media is new to me. So a lot of people are just finding out about me and what I do in my little neck of the woods. But we've been well established there for 20 years.
Cool. So you said traditional training.
Yes.
Is that what people call yank and crank?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah. Yank and crank, though I will say that I see people doing much worse things than even what we did. And when I say worse, what I'm going to say, and I want to clarify because sometimes things get misconstrued. I actually don't like to be associated with what a lot of people consider to be the force-free community. I don't know if you've heard of that term before, but there is a perception of there being a community of people, and because of the words force-free, it's the picture of people who are letting their dogs run amok, letting their dogs do whatever they want, like not having boundaries, not having limits. There's this perception. That's not me. Most importantly, because I'm a Black mother and I can't possibly be that way. My dogs are treated very similar to what my son was treated. I am fair. I do use as much positive reinforcement techniques as I can for the training and teaching them things. But I also use management. Like if my dog's going to run across the street, I'm going to yank the dog back. I don't want them to be hurt and killed. But there's this perception that if you use positive reinforcement techniques, you're going to let them run across the street. I don't even understand that. But anyway, so yes, yank and crank, though we did not have prong collars. I started before prong collars even. That's how long ago it was. There were no prong collars and there were no e-collars. Absolutely not. There were the shock collars that hunters used. It was exclusively for field. They were not mainstream and nobody was using those collars. They were called shock collars. Like I said, this is more recent. And I'd say the first time I heard about mainstream and they were now being called e-collars, which are much different because they have many bells and whistles on them. I get it because I get people get in to argue with me about those. The bottom line is they're still used the same way to train. Anyway, I feel like maybe it was early 2000s when I even knew that it was starting to get mainstream, that they were getting into regular, everyday, average dog owners' hands who don't know how to use them correctly. So it wasn't until then that I was like, whoa, I can't even get people to mark. And if I use a clicker, to click at the right time. I don't know how they're getting people to use an e-collar properly, but they say they are. So anyway, yeah, I'm way before that. So we mainly just leash corrected them with, they had a regular collar on. Sometimes they had the slip collar, the limited slip, or the choke chains is what they were called back then. They might have had those on, and you just pop them back and, have them lay down and you kind of force them down. Yeah, that is what I did because in the 1980s, that's all we knew how to do. Right. There was a book called The Keeler Method of Dog Training. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
That was the Bible of dog training. So it wasn't till, like I said, probably around the late 90s until I started reading other books. I read, Karen Pryor's Don't Shoot the Dog. And I read another book by a gentleman called Morgan Spector, was his name, called Clicker Training for Obedience. Because as I said, I've always been competing in the AKC obedience trials with my dog. And then I read a book by Pat Miller. She had a book on positive. I can't remember the name of it. Hopefully she won't get mad if she ever sees this. I doubt she will. But anyway, positive perspectives, it might have been called. Anyway, I started reading other books where it was heavy on the positive reinforcement, which actually made me happy because positive reinforcement is what I used as a child. I had dog biscuits that I would teach my dog tricks with. It was all positive reinforcement because I didn't know anything about the Yank and Grey. I learned that at the Kennel Club. The Kennel Club is what they showed me how to do. If you want your dog to do this, you got to do this. Also, I just followed what they said to do. I didn't know any better or any different. I don't believe anybody at that time would have known any different. That is the way dogs were trained. Well, I kind of find it kind of interesting that was 35 years ago, and today there's still people doing it that exact same way.
Right. So in your study, and when you started to transition into positive only, what was a deciding factor? What triggered you to say, well, I don't even have to use it that way because I can get this with this method?
Right. Well, the deciding factor was what you just said. I could do it without doing that. I have to be honest that it never felt good to me to do that. I can't sit here and say, oh, I had nightmares about it. No, it wasn't that. But when I saw, wait a minute, I can kind of shape or lure a dog to do the sit instead of popping him up on the leash. Okay. That was actually kind of fun. I did use the clickers for a while. The clickers were like a little shiny new toy. It was fun clicking them when they did stuff. It kind of changed my whole outlook to where dog training now was more pleasant and play, and the dog liked it. You felt good about it because, I really don't know that anybody actually likes correcting a dog. I can't really say that that's a pleasant experience that you have to yank up on your dog. The other thing I learned is how dogs react to certain things. And also one of the things that positive reinforcement does is they look at the dog as a being that actually has feelings. So when you look at a dog and you look at them and say, well, why aren't they getting this? Why are they not doing it? And you start looking at the conditions around it. Well, and you start to figure out that there's reasons that dog is not getting it. First reason being, the reason why a lot of dogs aren't getting is you're not being clear. We as the trainer are not being clear to the dog exactly what they want. That's where luring comes in. If you lure them into the position, oh, voila, they get it. Okay. Instead of just saying sit, they don't do it. Pop them, then they sit like, oh God. And then, you tell them good dog, lure them. So easy. They get in it. You mark it, you reward them for it. So the other reason a lot of times dogs don't do stuff is they're stressed. They are stressed. They're just like, people call it stubborn. I actually believe dogs aren't stubborn. What they are is they just will check out, like look away. I see a lot of my clients will say sit, and then right away the dog goes like this. If that isn't telling you, if that's not a message, that's not stubborn. That's a message that, oh no, here they go again. Let me look away. Let me go to a happy place. La, 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 la. That's what dogs do. Just like, that some things dogs do are very human-like. I know people they're not human, but there are some similarities. So once I start looking more at the why the dog isn't doing it, which I feel was right around that same transition, it made better sense to me to do it with positive reinforcement, to let the dogs, give them a second to think about it, let them make the right choice, then reinforce it over and over again. Because when you build up a strong history of reinforcement with your dog, they'll do it over and over again because they want what you have. They want what you have. So, but therein lies the key. You have to have what they want. And I think that is a big problem with positive reinforcement. We as humans want the dog to want what we think they should want. Right. And we can't really expand our mind a little wider to see, well, you know what? They might not want that treat that you have, that you give them all throughout the day, or the kibble. When they're outside with the environment and so many things going on, or in an environment with a lot of distractions, that little piece of kibble is not going to do it for them. Sniffing the ground is going to be more reinforcing to them. Looking around at the people, the other dogs, the animals, the trees, the leaf. There's so many things out there that will distract a dog. That is more reinforcing. So you have to have something or build that drive in the dog to want whatever it is you're going to pay them with. Because if it's kind of like there used to be some like memes that go around where, you know, I was the top producer, sales producer for my company, and I got a pizza party, and they have like a look on their face like, yippee. That's kind of like what we do to dogs.
Yeah,
We
right.
give them a pizza party for something fat. Well, dogs would like a pizza party, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We give them something that they're like, it was much better sniffing the ground. This is not it. And then allowing a dog to, you know, you have to allow the dog to have a choice like that. Allow the dog to be able to say, well, I don't want that piece of kibble right now. There's too much going on. Some people know, I don't, you're going to do it regardless.
Right.
I don't know. You're fighting
So
with them then.
right. So I got a lot of people that's dog trainers in this
Yeah,
group, and big dogs. So we probably got a bunch of yanking crankers in there.
I absolutely do.
So one thing you said is, basically you know how to read dogs.
Yeah.
What are some key things about reading dogs, behaviors most trainers should know about,
Oh gosh, so much.
really?
So one of my best I would say flexes that I give. In all these years, I've gotten bitten only 4 times. I think only 4 times in 35 plus years is pretty good. I
Not
think.
bad. Yeah.
I mean, when you watch like Caesar Milan show, he's getting bit every other week, blood dripping down his hand. Now I know a lot of that is for shock and awe.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not trying to get blood dripping down my hand, especially not now. I'm a little older and it's probably going to take longer to heal. So no.
That's right.
But the reason why is because I do read dogs very well. Now, here's the thing. This is what happens on social media. When I see some of these dog trainers that are flexing, going up to these obviously aggressive dogs right in their face, getting bitten, and I'm gonna get this dog and overpower them. That is absolutely ridiculous to me. That means you don't read dogs well. The objective is to not let them bite you. That's the objective. So one of the things that when I see a dog and read their body language, the stare, the freeze, the fast twitching tail sometimes, or the no tail, the tail down, the ears back. There's something called walleye where the whites get really big and the pupils are smaller. There's well, of course, everybody knows about the piloerection, it's called, or hackles that stand up on their back. So there's a lot of things, messages that dogs give you. So the ones that go in and get bitten, I really wish the general public would know that that's kind of a dumb dog trainer right there, because the objective is to not get bitten. When you get bitten by a dog, the probability of it becoming infected is quite high. You usually, I'm talking about breaks the skin, a puncture where their teeth go in.
Right.
When that has happened in the past, I always go to the emergency because I want to get on get some oral antibiotics just to make sure it doesn't. A lot of people try to wrap it up themselves, because we're tough, and it ends up getting infected. And I've known people that they got put in the hospital for a night and had to get IV antibiotics from a dog bite. Anyway, so that's the number one thing, not to get bitten. That's the number one. And a dog trainer who has I've been bitten a whole bunch of times. That's not a flex. I would not be admitting that, because that's admitting you are not reading them very well. I also read stress. I know and that's not hard, because you can learn your own dog the things they do when they're stressed out. Some common ones, a lot of lip licking, scratching, sniffing the ground, panting when it's not hot, Dogs also perspire through their pads. You can look at the ground and you'll see marks, like kind of like perspiration marks on the floor. They shed, shed a lot, they pace. So there's a lot of things, and it's different for every dog. So
Right.
a yawn, some dogs yawn. All of a sudden they get, because I heard a lot of people, oh, are you tired? I'm like, no, they're stressed out. So that's stress is a big one for to be able to read, because then you're not going to say those things like, oh, they're just being stubborn. You're not going to say that because you've read your dog that, okay, they're stressed right now. Let me kind of get that out of them, walk them around a bit, let them get some water. There's ways to handle it.
Okay.
So stress is another one to pick up on. Displacement is another one that, like I told you earlier, when they just look away as soon as you say something. There's something called it's not, I didn't make up this word. There's something in science called a poisoned cue. And all that means is whatever word is attached to that behavior. It could be, let's say sit. Let's take sit. When you tell your dog sit and they right away go like this, or they get up and walk away, that isn't stubborn. That is their association with that word is something that stresses them out. Very often, all you have to do is change the word.
Okay.
Popcorn for sitting, popcorn, and show them sitting. Oh, I like, okay. This is because a dog will, when you tell, it might be the same behavior. As soon as you change the word, if it's a poisoned cue or word, they're okay. So little things like that knowledge helps with your training, because like I said, you don't start attaching things like, oh, they're mad at me, or they're being stubborn, or they're just being willful and don't want to listen. Dogs don't do any of those things. They're not, we actually make them smarter of a being than they are. Dogs just want what they want. They're opportunists. Is this going to be good for me, or is this going to be bad for me? That's it. That's all dogs do. And so once you can wrap your brain around that, it's kind of liberating, because you don't have to, like I said, put all these things on a dog that they're not really doing. One thing that used to tickle me, but I don't know, I probably in the early years, I might have believed it. Like, people say, well, my dog, peed in my shoe because he was mad at me. Okay. So you're expecting a dog to say, I am mad at this person, so I'm going to pee in this person's shoe. No, that's usually not it. If anything, they like the smell of that shoe and they want to mark it as their own. It's more the opposite of that. But like I said, people will say, there's so many myths out there still that circulate about dogs that just, it's been proven to not be true.
Go over some of the biggest myths.
Okay, like that one I just said about the that when they lift their leg on something that belongs to a person, that means they don't like the person or they're mad at them. Another one is, oh, they knew they did wrong. Dogs have no moral code at all. I really wish people would. They know what I just said. What's good, what's going to result in good, what's going to result in something not good. So if your dog ripped up your couch while you were away, and then you come home and the couch is ripped up, and you walk into the room and you look at that couch, and then the dog slinks away, it isn't because, it's because I ripped up that couch 2 hours ago. Dogs are very in the moment. What they know is what means, because you've shown them when you go, that's what they're slinking away about. Because they know what that means. You've a million times a day, we teach dogs by our actions what that's associated with. Right. Now, if you came in and you really meant it when you saw the couch chewed up, and you're like, yay, what a good dog to chew up the couch, they'd be happy too. Like I said, they don't know it was wrong. You're not there. Right. You didn't stop them. It was probably 2 hours ago. This isn't more like the dogs that are like they're all by themselves and they look at something and go, that pillow might be kind of fun to chew. And they chewed it up hours ago. You walk in, there's nothing you can do about it at that point. It was hours ago. Dogs are in the moment. They forget very quickly about. Now, if you came in and they were in the process of chewing that pillow and you went, oh, what are you doing? Get away from there. Then yeah, you've attached the behavior to what they were doing. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Okay, I will try to remember that not to chew pillows. They'll probably chew about 3 or 4 more before they really get it, but because they need a lot of repetition. But my point is, hours later, it's not gonna. So punishing a dog after the fact, dog has no idea what you're punishing them for. He knew what he did. No, he did not.
Yeah. So
All
you
he
mean to
knows is
tell
you're
me,
mad, and he
right?
doesn't know why, and he probably thinks you're a crazy person also because you came in the house and all of a sudden start yelling at him. He has no idea why. So that's another myth.
So let me ask you this: you mean to
Yeah.
tell me that when
What's
the
that?
dog, you mean to tell me that the old saying about or teaching or
Hmm.
myth about when a dog poops in the house and you find the
Hmm.
poop, you
Oh my
come
God.
drag him over there, put his nose in it, and scold him is not true, huh? You remember
We
that
used to
one?
believe that and rub their nose in. All right. So
Yeah.
listen, this is what I tell people, which usually gets sometimes a chuckle. I will tell my customers, I'll say, listen, if you come in and there's poop, I don't care if you were only gone for a minute and a half to go to the mailbox and get the mail. If there's poop in the middle of your carpet, what I want you to do is go get a newspaper, just like in the old days, roll it up. Now I want you to walk over to the mirror and hit yourself on the head with it a whole bunch of times because you left that young dog for even a minute and a half. That's all they need. That's all they need. A minute and a half. Coast is clear. I gotta go. Let me just go here. Nobody's stopping me. So anyway, yeah, we did believe that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Let's go into some of your credentials because I didn't know
Okay.
what the
Oh yeah.
CCUI fear free certified and all
Okay.
that stuff.
So let me first just give a little preface to the whole certification thing because that's another thing I see on social media a lot with a lot of people flexing because of the certifications they have. The number one thing here is this that there are no required certifications to be a professional dog trainer, like by law. Like
Right.
anybody who fancies themselves that I'm good with dogs can literally be open up shop as a professional dog trainer. So let's
Mhm.
start with that. There's nothing that's required. Secondly, all of the certifications that are out there, and there's a bunch that are out there right now, are mostly run by different organizations here or there that they have you take some sort of test, and which I'm not opposed to that at all. I like a base knowledge of. I figure if a barber has to have a base knowledge of skills before they can be a licensed barber, then
Oh yeah,
maybe it's a good idea for dog trainers to have a base skills. Like
yeah.
it doesn't have to be like anything, really super extensive, but they not need to have a base skill. So in the beginning, when I first went to more positive reinforcement methods, I got certifications, and um, as the years went on, you have to always renew after 2 years. It was just money spent, money spent, money spent, money spent to renew. After that initial, and then you have to take continuing education, which is a good thing. So I went to a lot of workshops and seminars in between. Now, here's the thing about that. So you got to look at the money spent and the return on that money spent. In the last 20 years, I've had literally 2 prospective clients that ask about certifications. Nobody cares. The general public, they don't know what certifications are. They don't care. They want to know, can you help me and my dog? Now on social media, unfortunately, they're looking at social media to see, like I said, people, oh yes, I'm fighting these big dogs and blood dripping down. And then they're like, okay, maybe that person can handle my dog. But also experience, years of experience, references. That's what people want. So it finally occurred to me after 20 years of carrying a whole bunch of certifications that, you know what, I'm paying more money out than I'm getting anything in return. So now the certifications that I have are ones that are very pointed at specific things. Now that CCUI, there is a program called Control Unleashed. The
Mhm.
creator of the program is a dog trainer named Leslie McDevitt, and it is for fearful, nervous, and reactive dogs.
Okay.
So that is the number one dog behavior issue that I deal with,
Okay.
reactive dogs. So I said, let me get something that I can learn and become an expert in this particular program because it is a positive reinforcement based program. So that's the certification that I felt was actually going to get me a return on, because there's only, I think there may be maybe about 100 of us only in the United States right now who are
Okay.
CCUIs, or control unleashed instructors. There might be a little bit more, but there's not a whole bunch. And I'm the only one in my area of Virginia. So anybody who hears about that program, they don't have a lot of people to pick from. They're going to try to get to me. I actually have a pretty good, I do it online, virtually as well. So I get a lot of people for that. So that's giving me a return. The Fear Free program is actually a pretty good program, in that veterinarians can do it. Dog trainers can do it, and I believe even dog groomers can become certified in this program. And this is just being able to, like we touched on earlier, reading dogs body language and stress signals. When the owner, or client comes to you, if they see that Fear Free certified, they know that that is someone who has actually studied and is knowledgeable on the best possible way to get the best possible result out of your dog, instead of just muscling them into it. Because that's the thing with veterinarians. And I was a dog groomer for a time, which I didn't really get to touch on that much. But in the beginning of the dog training journey, I was a dog groomer as well. Because I had to pay the bills. Dog grooming has always been something that you could make money on. Dog training, not so much. But anyway, oh yeah, we just got the dogs in, and we were going to, by any means necessary. Now, we weren't like really being super harsh, but we were holding them down. You got to get a shot. Got to hold you. We're going to hold you. Got to muzzle you. We got to do this. So learning more techniques of where you could get more what's called nowadays cooperative care, get the dog to actually cooperate with you, learn how to cooperate with you, and then, yes, be reinforced for it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You let me touch your ear, like, and do that when their ear isn't hurting, when there is no infection there,
Right.
ear, you inspect it, and then, yes, good job, and reward them for it. Just getting them used to the touch and the cooperation. That's Fear Free. Like,
Right.
we are working with dogs, paying attention to their emotions as opposed to just muscling them into things and it being a stressful, horrifying, traumatic experience for them. Sometimes you still got to do what you got to do. Like, if it's a safety issue, if it's a health issue, they got to get it done. But, I actually have part of my training is teaching owners how to get better cooperation of their dog. So when their dog gets to the groomer, when they get to the veterinarian, they've been doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And being reinforced for it, as opposed to doing nothing, which is an issue, which is a problem with dog owners and clients. They don't touch their dogs. I've found lumps and bumps on dogs. I'm like, what is this under their arm? What? Because they
Yeah.
never touched under there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, we do full body workovers, head to toe, teeth, ears, all the paws, tail, private parts, all of it.
Yeah.
Get up close and personal. You should
Mhm.
know everything that's on your dog, and you want them to be cooperative about it. You don't need to
Right.
you don't want to be fighting them over it. So you got to teach them that, just like you teach them anything else. So
Mhm. Yeah. A lot of people don't touch their dogs enough, like
no,
inspect them and
right.
even grooming helps. Grooming them
Yeah,
yourself, let them
yeah,
touch on them and everything.
right.
Okay. What's so you're a behavioral you do behavior modification.
I
What's
do.
the when you deal with dogs that have these issues, is it because mostly of how they're raised,
Oh
or
my
it
gosh,
could be a
yes.
combination of how
Oh
they're
my
bred?
gosh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I want to go back to something that you kind of were going in that direction, and then I think I might have switched the tangent, because there's a
Mhm.
thing right now too with well, yeah, positive reinforcement's all well and good, but only with some dogs. It's not with these dogs. And
Mhm.
these dogs are usually very big ones, large dogs, working breeds, um, guard breeds, insert your breed.
Mhm.
Cane Corsos are one of those where people,
Yeah.
well, you know what? I hate to tell people, but all of the Cane Corsos that have come through, been clients of mine or come through my classes, when the people started them at 10, 12 weeks old, they were very biddable, lovely, dare I say, easy dogs to train. They were fine, no problem, 10 to 12 weeks old, even maybe up to 16. 16 weeks old, sometimes they start getting a little where it's suspicious of people. But okay, yeah, when you bring a Cane Corso in at 11 months, 12 months, over a year, they're already 120 pounds or whatever. They're already looking at their owner funny. The owner's a little bit afraid of them. They've
Mhm.
growled already. Okay, different story. But you know what? That's your fault. Why did you not start training them at 10 and 12 weeks old? Because they've had them since babies. They've had them.
Mhm.
They did nothing.
Mhm.
They wait till they get 120 pounds. And then they want to come to me and say, yeah, well, you can't train this with a positive reinforcement. No, actually, the truth is you can't train this with positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
Now you just made my job a lot harder, and I'm probably going to charge you more
Right.
because, now your dog's a bite risk for me.
Yeah.
Not a problem. We train with a muzzle on. Every dog that has either bitten or is already resource guarding or doing like really aggressive type growling, they're going to wear a muzzle, right? Because and I still will train them, but they're going to be muzzled.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like I said, to blame the training method on something that is clearly the owner's fault. You don't wait, when you get a dog that's going to be 120, 30, 40, how big do they get? 200
Uh,
even?
the, no, between 130 and 100.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, when you get a breed that's going to be large like that, and you don't do your due diligence to start training them when they're young, that's your fault.
Yeah, it hurts a lot of people because they
Yeah.
blame the breeder and
Well,
they
right.
ruin the dog, or they get the dog, and the dog might have to go into a shelter because can't nobody control
A
them.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And so it's not the method that failed. It's the owner guardian that is the first line of failure. Okay. But then what do you do about this? So here's something that a lot of people can't wrap their brain around. So when I don't walk up, I've already said that. I don't walk up into a aggressive dog's face
mhm.
and then have the owner start correcting them or me correct them. Okay, so isn't the objective for them to not be aggressive? So why would I want them to be aggressive and then just punish them for it? This is where the whole brain mindset is different with positive reinforcement methods. What we do with dogs like that is something called counter conditioning. So when these dogs look at a human or another dog and they want to be aggressive toward it, that is an emotional response. I see that. That's
Mhm.
emotion. Okay. It manifests as a behavior of growling, biting, and acting crazy, but it's the emotion. I hate that, or I'm afraid of that, or I feel like I have to get that away from me, whatever. Those are all emotional responses. So counter conditioning deals with the emotion part of it. And that's what a lot of people can't wrap their brain around, because what I want to do, or what positive reinforcement counter conditioning would do, is when the dog looks at whatever the trigger is, instead of going, I hate you, or I'm afraid of you, or you need to get away from me, instead of that, them, oh, that's not so bad. Well, that's a big difference. How do you get them that, oh, that's not so bad? First thing is you give them distance. You let them be at the distance where they're comfortable first. And then you see if you can get them turn away and do other things, not where you're saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. And this is what the Control Unleashed, in a Control Unleashed program, you never ask a dog to look. But what you do is when the dog looks on their own,
you reward them.
You reinforce that.
Okay.
Now takes a lot of patience. It doesn't happen quick. It might be over the course of 6 months. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because it could take that long or whatever, where you're itching up closer to the trigger slowly. Well, that's how I handle it. That's how the Control Unleashed program is. And that doesn't play well on social media. Nobody's going to sit there and watch me like be, if the dog is aggressive towards humans, watch me at 20 feet away, walk and sit down on the chair, and the dog not growl, not lunge, and then I toss their toy or toss treats to them and they start eating it. Because at first they won't even eat. They're like, no, that person is bad and suspicious. They won't even eat. At the beginning, sometimes if I toss it over, like I won't make eye contact. I'm trying to not be a threat, not get in their face and be a threat and then beat them up. That's one way people handle it. I'm giving people an alternative. One thing about me is I never say what is bad or good. Right. Okay. I'm here for people who don't want to do it the traditional way.
Got you.
I'm here for an alternative. That's it. I don't try to convert people. I don't tell people they're bad for anything that they do. Hey, at the end of the day, in this society, every state in this country, dogs are property. As long as you're not just outward abusing them, starving them to death, not giving them proper shelter, and just, beating them, like, causing injury and stuff like that. People do what they want with their dogs.
Right.
Wouldn't be something I do, but by law, they're allowed to do it. So, I just like showing people an alternative way that if they want to do it this way, they're more than welcome. But let's be clear. The reason 90% of very large dogs get into that situation is because the people did not do their due diligence. When you get certain breeds of dogs, and not only large dogs, there's some small ones that are some little rascals too, if they're left to their own devices. Personally, I feel all dogs should be trained. So don't go by me. I don't care what kind of dog it is. A good foundation training program helps all dogs, but even more so for certain breeds of dogs that tend to be more independent, certainly the large ones. Because if you have a dog, I have a lot of times it's female clients. Actually, females are nearly 70% of dog training clients. That's a little statistic for you.
Oh,
it's
really?
Mostly because men think they can do it themselves. So men are less likely to go ask for help with their dog. They're just less likely. But so women, so I get quite a few women whose dog is heavier than them. And like I said, already at the age where that they're scared of their dog already. And, because they got this large breed for whatever reason, it's the Cane Corsos have been on the rise for a while. Like I remember, we hardly ever got them in class. They're pretty popular right now. I don't know what they are in the rankings of breeds.
Number 18.
See, that's pretty high.
Right now. Yeah, it's getting
that's
high.
Pretty high. Yeah. That's pretty high. So, yeah, and a lot of people are getting them and not doing right by them, in my opinion, because they're not starting them out. When you start them out, wonderful dogs, phenomenal dogs. I mean, no problem with the training. So it isn't because they're a Cane Corso that this is happening. It's because they didn't get the early training that.
Right, and then we got some issues with breeding, people not knowing how to breed correct temperament.
Oh gosh, that's a whole nother
and
then, there's a lot of breeders out there right now. Yeah,
it's a bunch, and it's that dog is something like you've never seen, because everybody in all walks of life want a piece of that dog. That's why the popularity is just so
Yeah.
sky high right now. Let me ask you
Right.
this. What is could you tell the viewers the worst case you ever seen in a behavior modifications?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I certainly can. And
Okay.
guess what breed it was?
Oh my
Yes.
God, I wonder.
Yes.
Corso,
You have to say it.
Connie
Yeah.
Corso. Hmm.
Yes. Um, I wish if I was at my facility, I would show you his crate because his owners actually gave me um, his crate. But anyway, so this dog was when he first came, he was probably about 10 or 11 months old. He already, if he jumped up, he could easily put his paws on my shoulders and still be looking down at me. He was huge, very tall, probably the tallest Corso I have seen. Um, with this family, complete novices, did not know what they were doing. He was already growling at people in the house. So get a load of this. They couldn't get up at night. Like once they went to bed, he would not let them out of the bedroom until morning.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they'd come into the hall and they blood curdling. Yeah, they went back into the bedroom. So ding ding, Lori. Okay, so I started working with them just on basic obedience because he didn't even have that. Like, like he wouldn't even sit when they asked him. He wouldn't lay down. So we started working on that and he was actually doing quite well. And like he wasn't like during the day he was fine. So I mean, I was working with him for, careless abandon, working with him and getting him to sit and down and come when called and all that. Anyway, so on one particular session, the owner went into the house just briefly to get some more treats or something. I can't remember why he went in there, but he left me outside with the dog. And the dog wanted to pull towards his owner. And then I said, no, stay here. Come. And when I tell you, he jumped up on me, put his paw. This is how I know he was tall enough to do this. Put his paws on me, looked down at me. I swear, I was white that day.
Yeah.
I was white because
Yeah.
everything went. And I said to myself, I'm about to die. This dog's about to kill me right now. He's going to kill me. Thankfully, the guy came out and called his name and he got off me and whatever. Anyway, and I still continue to train him. I just told him, you can't leave him out here with me because he got very angry that I would not let him go to you. And I, kind of pulled him back and was restraining him. And that's when he did that. So I still was helping them and still going through, but I was very, very concerned about that dog, that he could turn like that and that he still had it in him to do that. All right. Everything had been going well. Well, the decision actually came out of my hands because maybe about a couple weeks later, he actually bit the tip of the finger completely off the female in the family. And that was it. It was over for him.
Oh man.
But when I think about that he did that to her and what the message he was sending to me, because when was that Maya Angelou quote, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. That is even more important with dogs. These people are saying, oh, well, they're just snipping. Oh, well, they would never, you don't know that. They're telling you I might do it. So, yeah, I think I got away with my life that day just by luck. And this is also what played into the dog will be muzzled. If any type of that is beforehand, before I'm working with them, muzzle, period. It is not a flex for me to get up in your dog's face. I'm not trying to look cute and popular on social media. No, thank you. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to not be injured so I can help other people. It's just dumb to put yourself in that position. But anyway, yeah. So he met his demise that way. That was the end deal. They couldn't keep, and because they had children. So
Yeah.
they just said, we cannot keep this dog and we're not going to pass him on to somebody else. He was, no, but again, that was their fault
Mm-hmm.
because they did not try to work with him when he was 10 and they had him 10, 12 weeks old. They had him from a baby. They probably had him from 8 weeks.
Right.
Why let your dog, your big, strong, powerful dog, get that big before you start training? It just makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that was the one that I feel like I got away. Definitely God was looking out for me that day for sure.
Sure was. Oh my God, that's crazy.
It's scary. Like I said, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So
You didn't think it was going to go there, did you?
oh no, that was actually a shocking story.
Yeah.
But it could have been worse too,
It could have. Oh yeah, I got away with my life. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I got away unscathed. I was just it was like trauma was over quick because the guy came right back out. But that was the scariest moment in my life. And I've had scary moments with humans and other things, but that was the scariest moment. That is when I actually feel like I was looking at death in a
Yeah.
second if that
Yeah.
had not.
Everything flashes. Your whole life flashes.
Actually, I don't even remember anything being flashing before me. I just know everything rushed. Like I went cold, and I do remember that feeling of cold and everything rushing down to the bottom, and just like just sheer fear.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you work with any breeders or let me this a better one.
Okay.
You being a trainer, you got anything you want to say to breeders?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So here's what I'll say. I will say that I will say this: the majority of, and this um, pertains to breeding. I would say that the majority of behavior problems that I work with in dogs would not really be a problem if the dog and the owner or home was matched better. And I got to put that on the breeders because they're the ones who give the dogs to that home and that family. There are so many mismatches, so many dogs that have behavior problems. They don't really have a behavior problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that particular situation I just told you about, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
that was on the owner. But like say dogs that are too hyper, too high energy. What are some of the other like behavior problems that people say? Anyway, there's nothing wrong with those dogs. They're just in families that don't want to meet that dog's needs. We talk about Malinois a lot. Oh, the big bad Malinois. Malinois are fine if they're in a trainer's home that wants to do that, very high intensity type of training. Malinois are fine in that
Mm-hmm.
situation. If you try to put a Malinois in a sedentary family that's a novice and has never had a dog before, not fine. All of a sudden, that was like, oh, there's something wrong with this dog. No, that dog's just in the wrong home. So
That's right.
breeders, that's on them,
Right.
not them matching up dog and puppy with the proper home situation. Now, I understand, especially with your breed. I know they have a lot of pups, right? It's gonna, what is
Yeah,
it, like
8 to
8 to
12
10 in a
usually.
litter?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Yes,
lot because Dobermans, I actually had a Doberman years ago, but Doberman, same thing. That's a breed I'm more familiar with. A lot of the larger breeds have those 8 to 12 puppies or whatever, which is the some of the other breeds would love to have that many. But yeah, so you have to place those puppies. So then sometimes you might go, oh, I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and sell to these people. So that's a lot of those dogs. If you don't match that well, a lot of those dogs are going to end up in homes that are not suitable for them at some point in their life.
right.
The other thing I would like to say to breeders is like, just be, the most ethical, best breeder you can be, because a lot of other problems are genetic based. They're with poor genetics that
Mm-hmm.
is coming out in that particular dog. So it is a lot of it is on breeders. I try
Yeah.
not to get into the breeder wars though. Like I kind of stay out of it. I bred 3 litters of puppies in my whole entire dog life very early on, like over 30 years ago. And I didn't really like that aspect of it, where I was responsible for where those puppies were going to go. And I was kind of like, I don't know that I want this much on me. So I didn't do it anymore. So I get that it's not easy to find good homes, but it's like that has to be paramount, that you're going to try to match up well with where that dog is going, for
Yeah,
sure.
a lot of it too is one thing that helps me is a puppy application,
Yes.
a detail to see that that tells you a lot, and a lot of people
Yeah.
don't do that. You know what I mean? And
No, a
asking
lot of
about
people don't do that. And
Mhm,
like the dogs that I have, like my main breed that I get for competitions now, and that my breed of choice is Dalmatians.
Dalmatians. Yeah.
And the last three breeders that I've gotten dogs from, they actually give me the puppy that they want to give me. Like, I want them, they know the puppies, they've raised the puppies. It isn't about going on picking, oh, that's a cute one, I'll take that one. No, these breeders are not going to go by that. Now, granted, this is the one part that I guess that's my fault for being who I am. But like me, a lot of times they are going to give me the real high energy one. They're going to give
Mhm.
me a dog trainer one that has a lot of drive, is high energy, is going to want to do stuff because they know that that dog's going to be okay with me. They're
Mhm.
not going to be okay with a home that doesn't know what to do with that.
That's right.
Dalmatians don't come in easy, quiet dogs, but there are a lot of people who like them that are not expecting to have to do the things that Dalmatians require. So
Mhm.
anyway, so they match up, and then also they, if for any reason I couldn't keep the dog, they want it back. They want it back. They do not want me finding a home and all that other stuff. They take the dog back.
Right.
So, those, and then the application, and absolutely. So there's definitely steps that they can take to make sure that the dog that you bred doesn't end up a behavior case, number one, and
Mhm.
also doesn't end up in some shelter somewhere
Right.
and you don't even know about it. Now, a lot of that still depends on honesty from the owner, because they could still not do it. Like, I know
Mhm.
contracts are very hard. Dog contracts are very hard to enforce if you don't keep up with these people all throughout their life. And how can you? It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
So a lot of it is honor system, but I think it is liberating and a safety net for people when they do know that the breeder will take that dog back. Like, they never
Yeah.
have to worry, oh, what am I going to? Because sometimes there's legitimate reasons to not be able to keep your dog. There's legitimate reasons, some
Yeah.
death in the family, whatever.
Yeah.
There's legitimate reason,
Oh
and it
yeah.
helps to have had a breeder that, oh yeah, no, 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 I want the dog back. I will take no questions asked. Bring him back to me. It's fine. Yeah, so that's nice for a breeder to do. That's
Mhm.
something that I would wholeheartedly recommend, because I recommend that people, prospective puppy buyers, look for breeders that will do that.
Gotcha. How often, or is it pretty often, that people bring you dogs that they both that they have in the family that have problems with each other?
Oh, like a sibling rivalry and
Yeah, yeah, with dogs that don't get along in their
unfortunately
family.
quite a bit.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Um, it's definitely not, like, I would rank the behavior problems that I have. Number one is reactive behavior,
Mhm.
without a doubt, reactive behavior, which is due to a lot of reasons. I think this lifestyle is a lot of it. Not having socialized the dog very well. Yeah, there's just and then that's the one where poorly bred dogs, mismatches where the dog wasn't getting a lot of that. They have a lot of pent up, like, energy and tension, and being on a leash just exacerbates it. They're frustrated when they see other dogs and people and moving objects. Anyway, um, definitely reactive. And then probably a step down for that would be separation anxiety. That's pretty high, believe it or not. Dogs that cannot be left alone. It's a residual, I believe. The rise in it is a residual of the pandemic, where people are home. We're home like all the time, and then all of a sudden, some of them went back to work, and oh my gosh, the dogs. And then I would say probably resource guarding is next. Dogs guarding food, toys, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then probably under that would be just dogs fighting amongst each other, dog aggression,
Right.
but
Right.
it's usually inner home that really bothers people.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then like aggressive, like just out and out aggressive, wanting to eat you type dogs, that's way down there. That's why
Mhm.
it's unfortunate that on social media you see so much of that, with certain, I'm not going to mention their names, but with certain trainers always beating up dogs and fighting them, like,
Yeah.
you see a lot of that. But to be honest, if I see like 150 dogs in a year, and it's that many because between my private clients and the ones in group classes, before the pandemic, it was even more, but I downsized after the pandemic. But anyway, maybe 2 out of that 150, if that are just like want to kill their people or anybody else. It's just not a
Right.
lot of dogs that are like that. So it just blows up on social media. So when they say, well, can you do this type of dog? Well, first of all, there's hardly any dogs are like that. So let's start there.
Mhm.
Secondly, yeah, I can work with those dogs, but it's not going to be the way you expect it to be worked
Yeah.
with. So, if you'd like for me to explain what I would do, doesn't play well on social media. Nobody's going to sit there over months and watching this same dog and me tossing treats over to him and moving a little bit closer. Nobody's going to
Mhm.
watch that. It's not going to play well. But anyway, but yeah, the inner home fighting is probably one of the most heart-wrenching ones, because the way it usually goes is this: the dogs got along very well for a while,
Mhm.
until
Right.
who knows what happened. And then from that point, dogs hold crutches. They say elephants never forget. I don't know, because I don't know any elephants like that. But dogs hold grudges more than most animals, or
Isn't that
harder,
crazy? Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
It could be one spat. They could have been sleeping together, literally hugged up on each other. One thing happens and it completely changes the course of their relationship forever, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I normally do in those situations, there's 2 ways to handle it. The first way, well, actually, I take that back. Those are usually handled via management. I will do counter conditioning, but I tell the people up front, you can never fully trust these dogs again. You never. You can never let your dog guard down again. I've lived it, so I'm speaking from experience.
Mhm.
I have had, my dogs all stay intact, my males, because they're show dogs. I show them in, the breed ring, so they have to stay intact. So I very often will have intact males living together, and I have had it where I had one go off to his breeder, and she used him as a stud. So he went there sowing his oats or whatever. And the dog that he used to run with, they were best friends. They loved each other. He came back, and his buddy ran up to him. Hi, I missed you. And he went, ha, got him, tagged him right on the muzzle, and it bled. And of course, I was out there, and stopped immediately. All it took was thump. They never forgot it. They never got along. The mere sight of each other, and I'd have to say,
Mhm.
knock it off, and they would. I was the only person who could be out with them, even off leash, but I was out there. I did have them both on voice control that they listened to me, but I would
Mhm.
not let anybody else do it because they're not going to listen to them.
No, that's right.
So I've lived it. What I did was a lot of management. They did not go out and run in the yard together anymore. Whatever. They just didn't. I
Yeah.
managed the household. So a lot of people don't, that's the hardest thing to get through to clients, because they want them to be buddies again. That's what they want. They want that perfect world so You can lock them down with tools. You can put them on an e-collar, but they are better always be on it. And you better have that remote control in your hand, because I would never trust them again without it. So you could either do it with management in that way, because that's management. They weren't trained anything. And that's one of the issues I have with when you're not being truthful to people, that yes, we might be using an e-collar here, but it's not really training as much as it is management. We're managing these dogs. We're preventing it from happening, because they know when they have that on. So yeah, so you could still have them running together and have your hand and on the button, be ready. But you probably won't even need to have your hand on the button, because they already know when they have this on.
Right.
So you can lock them down with the tool, or you can make sure you run them separately, run them with the dogs they do get along with. Manage your house that way. Have gates up where they eat separately. They don't get to each other. So when I do the training, I let people know up front, this is what we're talking about. You have either or. I won't go the tool route, so I would be happy to refer you to somebody who will do that. I would do this route where we're making sure we're diligent. The only thing about management is that it only takes one whoops. Oops, you and I had that happen once. That was on my husband. That was on my husband's watch. No. Because I heard I was in the other part of the house, and all I heard was him, oh shit. So I ran, and sure enough, he'd let one out when the other one was out there, and sure enough, and all I had to do is I go out there and knock it off real loud, and they did split. They went spurring off. But man, that's management does fail sometimes. Right. So when you elect to have those dogs and not give up one of them, you just have to manage the heck out of it. And you can still counter condition. You can still have them both on a leash, have them in the living room together, but you have them on a leash, and you're reinforcing them being in close proximity and not growling, not looking over at each other and staring. You can reinforce that, but still, I wouldn't trust them.
That's right. That's right. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
With families that have more than one dog, is it, we know that we're the leader, but is it okay for those dogs to have their rankings as well? To naturally,
well, they're going to regard whether they're going to have their ranking, whether we want them to or not. They're animals. Right. However, that's where training comes in, I would say, because when you train your dog where you are the leader, and let me just say, the reason what I would call myself more of a benevolent leader, a smart leader, in that the dogs know I have the stuff. I have the stuff. Everything that you want that's good in your life, I have it. So that's why I'm your leader. Not that I'm going to overpower you physically, because quite frankly, I can't. Like, even my Dalmatians, they're stronger than me. If they want to drag me down the street, they very well could do it at this point. In my physical life, they're very strong dogs. They're dogs that run with horses by, horse and carriage. They are guard breeds. A lot of people don't know that about them. But anyway, they're very strong, very physically hardy dogs. I can't beat them up, like pound for pound, trying to fight them. And they also have teeth that I don't have. So anyway, you have to be the smart leader. You have to be the leader that I've trained them. I've conditioned them that I have everything they need: food, toys, everything. It's me. So that when I say knock it off, you go over there and lay down. You go over here, be quiet, whatever, place, don't move. They'll listen. So you have to have them like that, which supersedes any little feelings they have on each other. Like I said, I had those two like that, so I knew I could be with them, but I didn't trust my husband with them, because he doesn't do the training. He's the play and the feeder, and like
yeah. Right.
I don't know if you'll ever see this podcast. He may or may not, but he was like, Laurie, come get the dogs in, because they ignore them. They won't come in the house. Anyway, so I'm a leader, and I've never put my hands on them. So I just want to be clear. You can be a leader to the dog without being this perception of pack leader that has to overpower them physically. That's another myth that I didn't mention, but that's a myth I would say as well. I never put my hand, I don't fight dogs.
Right.
I don't fight
Right.
them because they'll probably beat me anyway. I'm not that physically strong. And I didn't get dogs to have to fight them. If I can outsmart, it's like a game of Survivor with dogs. What was the Survivor? The Survivor motto is outwit, outplay, outsmart. That's what you have to do with dogs. We have brains that we should be able to outwit them. We should. If you have to go to physical to control your dog, even the big ones, even the big ones, if you have to go to physical, you might want to think about what could I do up here that outwits this dog. They don't have the brain power that I have. How can I get control of them by using this as opposed to this business? Because I didn't. It's I tell a lot of people, my clients, I train them how to train their dog. When they bring their dog to me, I'm not trying to sweat and get all sweat and huffing and puffing, trying to get your dog together. First of all, he lives with you. You got to do it. Number one. So I try to show them what they need to do to get that upper hand, if you will, but you don't have to get it with physical force. There's other ways to get it. Like I said, you have what they want. You have to just let them know, I got what you want. What do you want? This. Okay. Then you need to do this for me. Then you can have that. But you got to do this first.
Right. Right. Gotcha.
Most dogs will learn that because there are things that they fundamentally need. A lot of people will say, well, my dog's not food motivated. All animals are motivated by food or they die.
Right.
What they really mean is they haven't worked the system to that with them. Number one, about how they can earn certain things from you. Okay, so you haven't worked that system, which is the positive reinforcement system. They also haven't worked them around enough distractions that they don't get distracted out in the environment. Because every dog they'll eat their food in the house. They're motivated by food. Oh, good, my food. But you take them outside, that's when all of a sudden they're not food motivated. Why? Because I think I mentioned this right off top. They're looking at everything around them. Right. So they haven't gotten used to the distractions out there. So you really shouldn't even expect them to do the same things they do in the house when they get out in the environment. So you got to get them used to that before you're expecting things. Gotcha. So it's just kind of, like I said, it's what we, being a leader, you absolutely can do that. You just have to wrap your brain around being smarter than them. And that, I would say in a nutshell, is kind of what attracted me to more of the positive reinforcement techniques, because you have to really think outside the box. I've had to, with hounds, I've had to actually use scent as their reinforcer, because when they were out in the environment, they didn't want food. A lot of them come not toy motivated, which is a travesty to me, because every dog should have a drive for toys and catching things, because that's in them, that prey drive. And where we kill it in dogs is kind of in pet dogs is like, or we don't build it in them, is kind of missing the boat, because that's a whole avenue of reinforcement that a lot of people don't have, because their dog doesn't want any type of toy. But these dogs were driven by scent, rabbit scent, groundhog scent, whatever. They sell those in the store. Them in like one of those, I think it was, I don't know, what are those hunting type stores called? Like Gander Mountain was one we had. I don't know if they had those where you're at. But I found these bottles of scent, and I said, oh, I wonder if this would work. Absolutely, it works. And a lot of beagles and, dogs that just are not interested in a lot of stuff, but that says they smell that scent, they want it. Okay, then do some stuff for me. And then I'll let you play with that and put it on a rag and let them play with it, and it turns it into a toy too, all of a sudden, when they weren't toy motivated. So anyway, you got to think outside the box for some dog. And if you're going to use the reinforcement, it makes you do that. If you're going to use just pop, yank, crank, and do it, do you really have to think for that? Not really.
Right. Let me ask you this. So you might not have a reinforcement all the time with you. So do you kind of mix it up?
I do. I vary the reinforcement, but again, this depends on where the dog is at in their training.
Gotcha.
If I have a 6-month-old puppy, you better have reinforcement all the time. You have no business being out in the world without something to reinforce your dog. Most importantly, because your dog is going to do good things. So reinforcing isn't only getting your dog to do good things. It is catching your dog doing good things and reinforcing them for it. So if I have a 6-month-old puppy and I take that puppy to the vet, say, you better have something. Because if I go into that vet office and we have to wait our turn for our appointment, and that puppy sits down in the vet office with other puppies there and is being good, I'm reinforcing that. Like, I don't want to miss that opportunity. I'm not going to just act like it's an everyday thing for a 6-month-old puppy to sit there nicely at the vet. My 6-month-old Dalmatians, they're not trying to go right in and sit. So I want to catch them being good. Is fluent in doing that. Do you have to have food? No. But you know what I would still do? They sit nicely at the vet. Yes, nice dog. And I pet them. I always want to acknowledge and reinforce when a dog does anything that is uncharacteristic for this animal to do in certain situations. People forget these are animals.
Yeah.
These are animals that are naturally curious, naturally want to smell everything, naturally want to investigate everything. That's natural. So if they don't do that and choose the opposite and are calm, are under control without you even saying anything, if they walk right in there and they get themselves together right away and are I think you should acknowledge that in a dog. I think not acknowledging that is a missed opportunity to reinforce that behavior, because very often we don't even say anything to a dog until they start messing up.
That's true. Very true.
We let all those precious moments go by as if they should do it. So to answer your question, if they're early in their training, you need to have the reinforcement with you.
Yeah.
I mean, because some people say, you mean I have to have something in my pocket? Yes, you do. If you're taking a young puppy out into the world, absolutely. Kibble. It doesn't have to be anything super, super high value. Again, it does depend on the dog and where they are in their training. If they're a dog where it's hard for them, or they're very sensitive to the environment, then yeah, you should have something high value. Absolutely. It depends. But this isn't the dog's failure. They're being dogs. And this is where you want to train the dog you have. A lot of people say train the dog in front of you, work with that individual dog. You know what that dog needs, so you should be prepared with it. So
gotcha. And I'm holding you a little bit longer than what I said. I just
that's
need
okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I need
That's
a
a
few
good
more
thing.
minutes. Yeah, it's a
Well,
lot.
let me just say this. Let me say this. I don't mind, because, like I said, I think that, and I'm going to say this too. I think in our community that some of the things I'm saying might not be things that are heard all the time. So I'm happy to share, and I want to make sure that it's gotten right, because I do think that a lot of the positive reinforcement, and certainly that term force-free trainers, which I don't refer to myself as, but that's a term that is out there in social media. I don't want it to be looked at one way, because there is no definition of anything in dog training. All of us are individuals. We all are individuals, even the ones that say balance trainers, because there's some balance trainers that are yank and crank, like you said, like we traditional, what I call. There are some balance trainers that are heavily positive reinforcement, but they might use some of the aversive tools for very, very special cases. There's some who call themselves balance trainers who use e-collars on every dog they train. There's no set definition. It's all over the place, to be honest. I kind of feel like dog training is the wild, wild west. It's all over the place. You need to talk to individual trainers and find out. Don't go by these labels that are out there. Interview your trainer that you want to train your dog and find out what they're about. and really thoroughly research them and pick the one that resonates with you, that resonates with your spirit. Like I said, I'm not trying to convert anyone over to. I'm not looking for cult members. I'm not looking for people to not question anything I do. I want them to question me. I want them to select me as a dog trainer because, like I said, what I'm saying resonates with them. It touches their spirit. This is the type of relationship they want with their dog. That's why I want them coming to me. And that's the way it should be with everybody. If it's you like, what they're doing, and it sounds like, yes, this is what I want to do with my dog, then go with them. Trust your inner voice. Because I think a lot of people go with dog trainers that they're hesitant. There's inner voices telling them, I don't know if I really want to do that, but they do it anyway. And I get a lot of them after that because there are actually people, and this is crazy as it sounds, that go with some of these companies that do that primarily e-collar training. There's a lot of franchises out now, like a dog training franchise company. So they went with them because they saw a lot of advertising. These companies advertise. These are the companies that put every dog on an e-collar, and they only do board and train type dog training. You give them your dog for 3-4 weeks, and they will give the dog back to you. They do tell you, we're going to e-collar train your dog. They tell you, they're upfront about that.
Right.
But do you know how many people don't know what an e-collar is and what it does? I get so many people that get their dog back, and when they have to be the ones pressing the button, they all of a sudden take pause. Wait a minute, what am I actually doing here? What am I doing? And then when the dog stops listening, when they take the e-collar off, they're told, no, you got to keep the e-collar on, and then crank it up some. When the people start hearing that, then they're like, what am I doing exactly? When they find out that it is a shock, that's what it is. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Not a stim, because they didn't even know what stim meant. When they say it's a stim, when they actually research it and find out it is a shock, and I'm actually turning it up, then they call me in tears. I didn't know. It sounds like kind of crazy. Well, how can they not know? How can they not have researched it? But they don't. They go with the authority. The authority is oh, no, it's going to be okay. And we're going to get your dog back. Your dog's going to be off leash and this and that and the other. It's a great advertising thing. And then they come to me crying. I didn't know what I was doing with that. I didn't know. So, yeah, I get a lot of that. Way too much. Way too much. So something's wrong there when people don't really know what they're doing, when people aren't equipped to use the tool that they are being handed over with. That's an issue. Something's wrong there. I mean, but again, they find me. I talk to them about what we're going to do. They feel better about themselves as a person or whatever, because they came to me anyway crying. That's who I'm here for. I'm not, there's some people who go with the franchises and they're happy. Then, good. At the end of the day, I want your dog to have a happy life and you to have a happy life together. That's it. So not into conversion therapy. That's not me. I'm not on a crusade. I'm here to do what I do, tell people about it. And if it resonates, please come. I will say this. I've been doing this for 35 years as I told you. The relationship I have with the dogs I have today is much different than the relationship that I had with my dogs in the early years. They still perform. Those early dogs perform. But you know what? Those early dogs, I did not have the bond that I have with my dogs today. My dogs today, they might have a bad day in a competition where they just don't feel like doing it. Not a good day for them. Big deal. We'll try another day. Whereas before, my dogs had a little bit of fear. Because like I said, when you do yank and crank, your dogs do have a little bit of intimidation and fear from you. Like, ooh, I better do this.
Yeah, I know it's coming. Yeah.
Let me hurry up and get through this. Let me hurry up and get through this. But my dogs today don't have that. But I still do well. I mean, I still win more than I don't win. I still get the titles I want to get more than I don't get them. I mean, and I go home happy. They go home happy. I do have a quick story about that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
Let's hear it.
actually wrote something about this. I wrote a blog about it that actually went, like, this is years ago, even when viral wasn't a big thing. It went viral all through the, like, the Kennel Club system. Everybody wanted a copy. And can I put it in my newsletter? This and that. It was called "There's No Crying in Dog Sports." And what the gist of that was, the day that I stopped worrying so much about how my dogs performed in the ring was, I took this when I had crossed over, right? I had crossed over and people knew I had crossed over. I became, oh, she does only positive reinforcement now. Um, and they knew I wasn't doing any of the police corrections or any of that anymore. So I went into the ring and oh, he showed out that day. He didn't do
Mm.
anything I told him. He made the biggest fool out of me. Not only, I mean, he was in a high level of obedience at that time. He acted like he had no training. He was wandering around the ring away from me. It was so embarrassing, which hurt me to my soul because he'd been doing so well in practice. And I knew everybody was looking at me and wanting me to fail anyway. So anyway, on the way home, I was crying. It was a show in Richmond, Virginia. I'm about an hour away. I was crying. I looked in my rear view at him. He was on the back seat, sprawled out, legs up in the air, just living his best life. He was happy. Here I am sitting up here crying like an idiot. The dog is legs kicked up, happy. He didn't know what, big deal. He didn't know anything about what occurred there. And I said, if this doesn't be all, I need to have his attitude. Sitting up here crying, like, why? It's not like you win any money for this. It's not like I lost the $1 million Powerball.
Right.
I mean, it was a bad day in the ring. So what? So I never cried or really felt upset about anything that happened from that day on. It was liberating. Everybody needs to be that way because, unfortunately, I love competitive dog sports, and I love for my. I try to that is something where I am a little bit of a um, conversion therapy. I want as many people to even do little things, little types of competitions. I love having goals for them to work with their dog, work toward with their dog. But at the end of the day, don't let your ego get in the way. This You're supposed to be having fun doing
That's
this.
right.
This is supposed
That's
to be
right.
fun. It's supposed to be fun for you. And I even bite sports. It's supposed to be fun because
Hmm.
it's a sport. They're not
That's
they're really saving anybody's life. They're not
right.
really stopping a burglar. It's a guy in a suit.
Hmm.
Fun.
Right.
Pretend.
Right.
Keep that in perspective. You shouldn't be getting angry about with your dog. What it means is bad day. What it means is your dog wasn't ready for that environment. What it means for maybe you didn't train it as much as you thought you did. Your dog got in there and got stressed. And what do dogs sometimes do when they get stressed? Sniffing, walking around, pacing. I don't want to
Mhm.
do this today. Once you get in the ring, you have no way to control them. You don't have your e-collar, you don't have anything.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, when you do agility, a lot of times they make you the dog run naked. You don't even have a collar on them, period. So what I'm
Mhm.
saying is once you get in there, you can't make them do anything. They
Mhm.
have to want to do it. And so they're animals, some days they're not going to want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those days you lost some money or you made a donation to that particular club. I look at it like
Mhm.
that. I made a nice donation to that club today. I didn't get anything for it. It was a donation. And go home and train harder, train smarter, go in another day. You're probably going to have a better day that time. If you keep having bad days, and that again, look inward because it's not your dog's fault. 9 times out of 10 is something that you're doing and you just got to figure it out. But ego gets in the way, unfortunately. People want to
Ego gets
rack
in a
up.
lot. Yeah.
She says that she has a beautiful wall of stuff on her. Hey,
I'm checking it out.
I like the stuff. I
Yeah.
keep those ribbons and all that because that's blood, sweat, and tears that we worked toward together.
Mhm.
Some of this stuff is dogs that are passed on, and I have
Mhm.
that we achieved together. So Yeah, so that they don't care about, I do care about. I paid my fees to get that
Right.
to enter this. You have to pay to enter. I paid and whatever. But so I like it. I like the stuff. I like the bling, but
Right.
it's not money.
Yeah. But you in your bio it said you was a judge as well. Is
Yes,
it
I
with
am.
sports? What sports?
Yes, so I judge something called rally obedience in AKC. It is based on obedience, but and it's going through a course of exercises that you and the dog have to do together. There's levels that they start at the novice level, go all the way up to the master and championship level, where it's like basically like a maze. It's not agility because you are just healing them through where they have
Really?
to
Okay.
heal imperfect
Right.
and you have to do a lot of different things.
Mhm.
I'm a judge in that and in AKC and several other competition venues. The AKC has a lot of little things that they do, and I'm a judge in most of like a lot of that stuff. They have a temperament test. They have a farm dog. They have certifications that people can get for like the Canine Good Citizen, Advanced Canine Good Citizen. So I have all those things that I can do. I do a lot of stuff of that through AKC.
We got a lot
Um,
of questions to
it's
ask you. I'm
fun.
about to do another interview with you.
Hey, I'm happy to because as I said, I think that there's not enough people who look like me who
Yeah.
train like me, and
Right.
I do want. I want to expand in our community
Yes, ma'am.
even more so because like I said, they're not, we do not get to see this a lot,
Hmm.
and I want them to see it because I
Yeah.
don't feel that any particular way you train should be um particular to any race that
Right.
or religion or anything that you are. It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
that. It has to do with what resonates to you as an individual person. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Because we got to give one of the most powerful things you said is you like you're a small lady that controls bigger dogs.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding. You can see it on all over your social media. And that
Yeah.
says a lot, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Well, and like
yeah.
I said, and I do it with because I can't beat them. I can't beat
Right.
them. I
Yeah.
can't fight them. I
Yeah.
I can't do what some of these trainers that they show you with actually physically fighting that dog.
Yeah.
Everything except for boxing them.
All right.
I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't want to.
Right.
So, yeah, but yes, it can be done. It can be done. And I will say this that I am very interested in having conversations like this. I'm
Mhm.
actually very interested if you have any of your listeners out there who want to have conversations with me who do more of the traditional training. I'm happy to have the conversation
We
with
could
them.
do
I
it. We
don't
could set
shy
it up.
away at
Yeah.
all. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've had many trainers. I have a lot of protection trainers come on, and they that's a battle within itself. The different types of protection sports and street
Absolutely, that's
protection. Yeah,
huge.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot
so
of
yeah,
a lot of on social media, the bickering back and forth. I don't bicker with people.
no, it's no
No,
need. You just go in
I'm
there,
too old to do that. So, but
right?
I'm happy to have conversations with people
Oh yeah,
on it and
yeah,
explain what my way is. This what what I
hmm,
like to do with dogs. They can tell me. I will say that I've probably done what they are doing, but not. I don't have experience with my own dogs using e-collars um, with them because it wasn't around when I first started. However, I have done my due diligence to study up on it. I know how it works. I know how they work very well. I've taken actually trainings in how it works. So I don't want anyone to ever think that, oh, might criticize something that I don't know anything about. I feel that if you are going to criticize anything, you better know how it's done. And I think a lot
mhm,
of young dog trainers don't know because they learn one way of doing thing and one tunnel vision. I
mhm,
actually like the fact that I was a traditional trainer at one time because I understand that. I understand
right.
a dog, that relationship with the dog where they're a little intimidated by you, where they are kind of like looking at you like, oh, I better do it or else.
Mhm.
I understand that because I had that relationship with my dogs. Absolutely.
Right.
So yeah. So I'm not a hostile, I would not be a hostile witness or whatever. I wouldn't
Oh,
be
yeah.
that because
Have
I
you
get it.
this is not a hostile channel. This channel is
Yeah,
all
good.
love. Is
I
welcome
love, I really
perspective.
like the vibe. So
Yeah, yeah. The perspective is all what people can decide because yeah. I definitely want to have
okay.
more
Be
conversations with
happy.
you and
I'd be
everything.
happy to do it.
Well, Mrs. Lori, tell the people how to contact you if they want to contact you and how to find you on social media.
Okay, so it's real easy on social media, both on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is the Canine spelled out Canine Diva, the Canine Diva on both Instagram and TikTok. So super easy to find that way. And then my actual business is Pup N, and that's PUP apostrophe capital N, Pup and Iron Canine Enrichment Center. We're in
Okay.
Fredericksburg, Virginia. You can find us on the internet. We have a Facebook page. So, very easy to find. I do virtual one-on-one consultations. I do, so every now and again, I'll throw a class up there virtually. So, for people who are not in my area, then, and you still are interested in doing any type of training with me, hit me up and I'm sure we could work something out.
Cool. All right, we thank you for coming, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. Mrs.
Well,
Lori
thank you
C.
so much for
Williams.
having me.
All right.
And that wraps up another episode of NWA Connie Corsos. Thank you for being a part of our Connie Corso community. Remember, you can stay connected with us beyond the podcast. Find us on all major media platforms by searching for NWA Connie Corsos. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. Just hit that follow button to join the conversation and get the latest updates. If you have a burning question or want to apply to be a guest on our show, we'd love to hear from you. Simply shoot us an email at nwaconniecorsos@gmail.com. And if you're a business interested in becoming a sponsor, reach out to us at the same email address. For more resources, exclusive content, and links to all our social media profiles, visit our website at nwaconniecorsos.com. It's your go-to destination for everything dogs. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we can't wait to bring you more exciting episodes where we explore the fascinating world of dogs.